Hello, everybody. I'm George from Ireland, commenting on relations between Budapest and Kyiv. Now, they are the lowest ever ebb. Relations haven't been good for quite some time. I mean, the historic roots of that, partly there's a district, the Carpathians in Ukraine, which has got a historic Hungarian minority. Ukrainians, in response to Russian aggression, are saying Ukrainian is the only official language. Where does that leave that small Hungarian minority? Only a couple of 100,000. Bear in mind, there are only about 15 million ethnic Hungarians in the world. So the Hungarians care about the diaspora a lot. So only 10 million in Hungary, 5 million in other countries, a lot in Slovakia. Now, Orban Viktor, who's been Prime Minister of Hungary for about 12 years, his Fidesz party is still in office. And of all the European Union leaders, he's the one who's been chummiest with Vladimir Putin, and was the first EU leader to visit Moscow, indeed meet Putin during the Russo-Ukrainian war. I think Robert Fico of Slovakia visited afterwards. Remember, Slovakia is immediately north of Hungary. Both former communist countries in the Cold War era. Of course, Slovakia is part of Czechoslovakia at the time. And this is perhaps ironic that Orban's party, Fidesz, stands for Young Democrats. They're not young anymore, but back in the late 80s, he was one of the most vociferous in saying, we've got to break links with the Soviet Union, make Hungary genuinely independent. But the situation is not what it was almost 40 years ago. Things have gone full circle. But he's very much a nationalist, so he doesn't advocate for withdraw from the European Union. So I'm pursuing Hungary's national interests. We must have cheap oil and gas. Often it was sourced from Russia, particularly through the Druzhba pipeline, by a cruel irony, meaning friendship. And Ukraine allowed this for the first sort of 3 years of the war. Okay, got in transit fees, but Russia made way more. Some of that money was used to blow up Ukraine. So the Ukrainians obviously said this is illogical. We can't allow this to go on any longer. And the Hungarians still want their cheap oil and gas, so do the Slovaks and so on. But the situation's got even worse. So 7 Ukrainian bank employees were apprehended yesterday in Hungary. They were transporting $80 million worth of cash and gold in special sort of cash transport vehicles to Ukraine. It was 9 kilograms of gold and the rest in cash. I don't know which currencies it was in, but so the Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha has weighed in and said this is sheer banditry. They must be allowed freed, and obviously their goods should no longer be restrained, allowed to continue their journey to the Ukrainian border. Anyway, so Sybiha says that Hungary is treating them effectively as hostages because of this diplomatic spat about the oil and gas pipeline, and that Hungary is stealing the money. So the Hungarians said, no, we suspect they're money laundering. Did they properly declare this, and so on? Okay, so the State Savings Bank, or Shada Bank, says it's our money. We were transporting the money from Austria to Ukraine, and you can't fly into Ukraine since the war began, and that the detention is unjustifiable, and that they've done this many, many times. There's never been a problem. So Hungarian tax authorities said, well, they might expel the workers, but doesn't mean they're going to disgorge the loot. So the Hungarian tax authority said they've undertaken a criminal investigation, and it's pointed out that over $900 million worth of cash and gold bars has been transported so far in 2026. Well, but if it was a problem, why didn't you stop it till now? Okay. So the Poland actually has weighed in on the Ukrainian side on this and said this is stolen money. So yeah, relations between the two countries have plunged, are partly over access to that Druzhba pipeline. And the Ukrainians said, well, we're not going to allow this to fund our own destruction. You know, Hungary, you've got to buy oil and gas from somewhere else in the world. You've had 4 years to get used to the situation, but there's an election coming up. So Orban Viktor thinks this is a good drum to bang come election time, and it looks like he might lose office. So anyway, he had the TEK, that's the counterterrorism police, them stop Ukrainian registered vehicles, raid them, and so on, have this prominently shown on the Orban-friendly media, and so forth. So Sybiha has correctly stated that Orban is sort of exploiting anti-Ukrainian prejudice for electoral gain. All right, so what do you think? I mean, the Hungarians, Not all Hungarians feel this way, but the Ukrainians would like to calm down this row because they're somewhat reliant on them. Hungary's always been dragging its feet on European Union, giving money to Ukraine, lending money to Ukraine, weapons for Ukraine, partly because they want to keep on the right side of Russia. And Orban Viktor recognizes he can extract concessions from the rest of the European Union if he gets that. Then you hear all these liberal leftists say he's turning into dictatorship and nonsense. But wait a second, you're the same people who say that the European Union guarantees that can never ever happen. So stop lying. And, okay. So anyway, the Hungarian foreign minister, Peter Citaro, if I pronounce it correctly, said, if this really is sending money, why not just as an electric transfer? Why do you need cash and gold and so on? I don't know. All the banks need a little bit of cash. I'm not sure why the gold. If anything, Ukraine might be putting your gold somewhere else in a safe haven like the Bank of England. But we'll see. So I think it's really trying to pressurize the Ukrainians because it wants the oil and gas pipeline to reopen. And to lend point to this, the crisis in the Middle East, the conflict really in the Arabian Gulf, is going to mean that oil and gas prices are even higher. I mean, mercifully, the winter's almost over, so things not as needed urgently. There was meant to be a 90 billion euro aid package for Ukraine, and this has been thwarted by Hungary until such time as Ukrainians allow Russian oil to flow across their soil to Hungary. And Orban's argument is helping Ukraine simply prolongs the agony, just force them to make peace, as in sort of to surrender. So this anti-Ukrainian message is rebarbative. Anyway, but Zelensky has conceded, okay, Druzhba could reopen, but it's going to take at least another 4 weeks and so on. So it's all very heartbreaking what has been done. So that's it. So 2 Ukrainian Hungarians were taken prisoner by Russia, and they've been released by the Russians, partly to win the goodwill of Hungary. Anyway, the TISA party might well win that election in Hungary, so they will be more amenable to the Ukrainian position. I don't think the change will be as big as some were hoping for, but this is partly an explication of why relations have cooled between them. And if Slovakia and Hungary are going to get cheap Russian oil and gas, why not everybody else? So Ukraine is a candidate member of the European Union. Will it get to be a full member? Orban Viktor says no, never. But I think his electoral political career is coming to an end. Yes, it's been a good innings, 12 years, but I think he's been a largely baleful influence over Hungary. What do you think? Thanks for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate PayPal, georgecallan7@gmail.com. Goodbye.